Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, first of all, a big warm thank you for all your lovely messages of support and love that you have sent over. And for those of you that don't know, my dad recently passed away and I had to just cancel all recordings and walk away for a few days. And for most of you listening, you might not have noticed anything because I'm usually 10 days ahead with my recordings. But I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all and rest assured that I've got my game face back on, which I have to admit is a little on the pink side after sitting in the sun too long today. But on a positive note, lockdown is beginning to lift and people are returning back to the office. And I can't help but think that work has changed forever. But the big question that many leaders are starting to ask is, how can my business embrace the future of work today? And the workforce of the future is so much more than just robots and holograms. In fact, the future of work is already influencing business decisions in ways that were once just visions in the minds of workers. But everything has changed over the last few months. Everything from 5G connectivity to boundaryless communication. The modern workforce is pushing full speed ahead into a new definition of work. And businesses now have the responsibility to embrace it. So today I've invited Amanda from Fuze onto the podcast to explore how leaders can take full advantage of that changing work landscape. And also learn more about the key strategies to understand and implement to prepare your workforce. And whether that's spread across countries or continents, all for the future of work today. But enough rambling from me. Let's get Amanda onto the podcast right now. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Amanda. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. So I work at Fuze. We're a leader in enterprise cloud communications. For those unfamiliar, we make software for large companies and their employees to be able to communicate over voice, video, chat, all on a single app, all on one device, no matter their location. Specifically, I'm responsible for content and social media at Fuze. I've been with the company for over 4 years, and my team and I are creating all of our thought leadership content around remote work, flexible work, and ultimately how communication tools fit into the future of work.
Excellent. And in the last few months, of course, we've seen the majority of people in the workplace using video more than usual especially because grandparents are now chatting with their family via Zoom and FaceTime, whereas a few months ago it seemed that everyone was avoiding video conferencing. But I'm curious, have you noticed a shift in acceptance of technology and the flexibility of working from anywhere?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been sort of thrust into this new world where we all have to work remotely with the stay-at-home orders. And we've just been forced into this experiment where everyone's working remotely and relying on new forms of technology or different ways to communicate. So employees really stay engaged and connected. And companies are recognizing that need for the tools and policies, procedures, culture to ensure that continuity happens and productivity really stays high during this period of remote work. And the smartest companies are putting the right technology and policies in place to really help foster that collaboration now and for the future.
And of course, at the moment, we're all coming out of the lockdown period. And I'm speaking to more and more businesses that are saying that they don't want to lose momentum and they want to work differently and take up and turn a lot of the challenges that they've had into opportunities. So for everyone listening, how do you think IT leaders can take full advantage of this changing work landscape?
Yeah, I think to really take advantage and to really embrace the future of work, IT leaders need to think about how they can optimize performance of all of their remote workers, no matter where they are, no matter how much experience they have, if they've worked remotely prior to this experiment, while really balancing all of that with the flexibility that workers crave. I think that throughout this period of time, everyone's really realized and come to terms that having flexibility around when you start start your day having time that you're saving from not commuting and giving you that flexibility to do other work, do chores in your house, take care of your children, pets, what have you, has really been great. So when this is all over, in order to really foster that culture of collaboration, companies need to combine technology with four key elements, I would say. And it really starts with culture. I've mentioned it a few times already, but the company needs to provide a culture that's open and adapting with the different employee needs around work-life balance and around when, how, and where they want to work. As companies are looking to bring new people on board if they can, and they're in that fortunate position, it's really about hiring people who are likely to perform well outside of that traditional office setting. So look for different characteristics where people are a little bit more autonomous. They can manage their schedule, they can stay organized, they have, no issues with being in a remote setting. Next up, it's all about focus on productivity. And rather than really focusing on hours logged or attendance or where they're based, it's really about that productivity. Are they getting the work done and are they doing a good job? That's what matters in this new remote flexible environment. And lastly, it's really about empowering remote workers through the right technology, the right policies and security measures to really help ensure that they have the things that they need in order to do their best work.
And it's hard to believe that it was only a few months ago that most business leaders were saying, I can't let everyone work. If I let a few people work from home, I have to let everyone work from home. And of course, now that's exactly what has happened. So I'm curious, as the ex-IT guy here, what are there any other key strategies that departments will need to understand and implement to prepare their workforce for these changes?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. So we were all thrust into this remote work experience a few months ago, and we've been doing a couple surveys of IT leaders and our own Fuze employees to just get a different pulse and different read on where people are at in this to help guide what IT leaders can do. And in a recent survey we did with 100 IT leaders, 55% of people said they will only work in the office 1 to 2 days a week after COVID. That's a majority. Before COVID, that number was 70% people working in the office 5 days a week. So that's pretty drastic that people are becoming more and more accepting and really wanting to really work from home. And we saw the same trend in our own employee survey. However, the number jumped to an even greater percentage of people wanting to work in the office only 1 to 2 days a week. And it was in the mid 70s. So as you're thinking about planning what the future of work looks like at your company, IT leaders need to think about really think about and cater to their employee needs. Are they going to want to go back into the office? Are they going to want to deal with whatever that new normal looks like? Because the truth is, it's not going to be the same as it was 3, 4, 5 months ago. I think we won't see the shift where everyone's going to stay home permanently. I think it probably will be that more blend where you're working from home maybe 3 to 4 days a week and you're going into the office 1 to 2 to really balance and keep your projects moving forward, because we all miss that human connection. So I think it really will be a blend of that where people will work remotely and people will work from home, and that'll kind of be the new normal.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think there's been too many working from home versus in the office debate, and there's so much binary thinking going on so many different areas in society at the moment. But it's not working from home versus in the office. It's that blend and that middle point that's so crucial. And we are beginning to see a new definition of work, and businesses have that responsibility to embrace it. But do you have any examples of what the immediate future of work will look like if we compare that to 4 or 5 months ago?
Yeah, I think to talk a little bit more about what that blend is, I think that companies and IT leaders will need to think about how they are keeping their employees productive and engaged during that period of time and that transition when we're all still trying to figure it out. And for us, some of the ways that we've been adapting internally as an organization, we started by creating a few task forces around a few key areas to make sure we were really thinking about things holistically and getting ideas from various departments across the company. And it's been everything from communications to how do we stay positive to how do we bring our culture back into this remote setting? How do we create networking opportunities for our employees? And I think over the next few months, we'll still continue to refine that, and we'll still continue to figure out what that right communication cadence is. One fun thing that we've been doing is a series of Ask Me Anythings with our executives. So as opposed to having formal meetings where we're just our executives are just presenting out to the Fuze community. Instead, it's an Ask Me Anything. So it's really, there's no agenda. All of the mics are live, and any employee can kind of step up and say, hey, I wanted to chat about how we're handling XYZ. And those have been really well attended, and it's been a great thing to help all employees kind of feel engaged. And in terms of networking opportunities and what that new norm will look like as time progresses and people may still be either remote or in the office just a few times, I think it's all about being creative and figuring out what makes sense for your company. We've developed what we're calling a Fuze Connects calendar, and there are a variety of different types of meetings on that calendar. It's everything from a baking club to a parent support group, to cooking classes, to yoga, to interfaith sessions, and so much more. So we've really put it on to the employees. What are you guys passionate about? What do you guys want to do to help kind of bridge the divide, really, as we all are working from home and not together during this period of time?
I absolutely love that engaging with the employees and giving everyone the chance to make their voice heard, and most importantly, make them feel that their voice is valuable to them as well. But I'm curious, do you think that those that fail to adapt or cling to the past, and do you think that those kind of companies could quickly run the risk of getting left behind?
Yeah, initiating change across an enterprise is never easy, right? That's the number one problem with everything is change management. And so understanding the effects of new policies and technologies can really help reassure employees that the decisions you're making will enhance their work experiences. And the best way to understand the worker preferences is to really choose a flexible solution that allows the different people to slowly adapt and develop their own sense of autonomy in their own work. So moving to the future of work doesn't happen by accident, right? Preparing a company to embrace this digital transformation, in fact, is very calculated, and it takes a lot of steps that requires time, research, feedback from employees. But if you have those right tools in place, any enterprise, no matter the size, can really set themselves up for the future of work and develop those worker preferences and bottom line business goals.
And just to help bring to life all the topics that we're talking about here, do you have any examples of how you're helping businesses adapt and evolve at Fuze?
At Fuze, we oftentimes replace 4 to 8 communication apps in an average deployment. So if you're thinking about what we're doing, bringing all of these communication formats into one tool, it's easy to kind of think you had one tool that you used for messaging, you had your desk phone on your office desk, and you had a tool for video conferencing. In some cases, you had multiple tools for those things. So we're condensing all of that down and breaking down all the silos between the different communication channels. So you have calling, meeting, chatting, and content sharing in one application. Throughout this whole crisis and pandemic with COVID-19, we've heard some interesting stories from our customers about shifting to 98 to 100% remote work over a very short period of time thanks to our technology. And in some cases, we've heard we wouldn't have been able to do this if we didn't have something like Fuze in place. Or we've heard that the transition was seamless because our employees were already used to using our soft phone technology. They didn't rely on having a desk phone, for example. We've really done a ton of work to help ensure that our customers were successful. In fact, our CEO sent out an email to us in early March saying he wants all employees to work from home for the foreseeable future. And we believe we had about a 2-week head start ahead of our customers doing the same work from home transition. And that really allowed us to take time to develop some best practices internally that we could share externally with our customers around not only how to use Fuze in this scenario, but also what are the policies, culture, best practices that you need to have in place to really ensure that you're successful. Throughout this period of time, we've seen over 600% increase in video usage on our platform. And to really ensure that we have the best experience possible for our customers, we've done a few things to increase the capacity and resiliency of our network to make sure every customer is having a quality, seamless experience with the product. And we're continually monitoring all of our network usage to really make sure that best user experience is true for every meeting, every phone call, every video conference. So those are some of the things that Fuze has kind of put into place during this time to make sure we can all stay connected, engaged, and productive.
And I love that. And I love how you're helping so many businesses in so many different industries do all that and much more. But I'm curious, internally, is there anything else you can share about how you're adapting as an organization to these changes too?
Yeah, absolutely. I chatted a little bit about the task forces, particularly around the Ask Me Anythings and the networking events, but I'll chat a little bit more about the different communication updates that we've done in addition to those policies. And it really centers in sharing updates in real time. So in some cases, we did have those Ask Me Anythings multiple times a week. In other times, we did have email updates coming out from our different executives throughout that time. So we really always knew what was happening. And we shared that same information externally with our customers, whether it was around our platform usage, the things we're doing to ensure high quality all of the time, in addition to providing those tips around remote work policies, flexible working hours, and different support resources to make sure that our customers felt productive and supported, and also our employees as well. And then the other thing that's been kind of fun is, we're trying to focus on the good here as we're all remote and trying to stay connected. So we've been encouraging our different employees and teams to get kind of creative with their meetings. So in some groups, they have theme meetings around hat days, and you'll see fun screenshots of the different video meetings where all of the participants are wearing a different hat. Or they were encouraged to bring their kids to the meeting. So, we've all been in those scenarios where, you worry about what's behind you in the background if you just had someone in your family pop back. We've all seen that BBC interview from back in the day with that professor. And it's, this time has just given everybody the opportunity to take a breath. We don't need to be perfect. We all have different lives that go on, but we can all continue to be productive at home, even with all of that happening. So it's just about celebrating that. So rather than say, oh my gosh, my dog's barking, I'm sorry, it's okay, we have pets, we have kids, we have all of these things. We should just be positive and be flexible with, our coworkers during these times as well. And those are some of the things that have been messages coming from the top down that have been really interesting to see how we've adapted to being able to be, 100% remote and still connected, engaged, and productive.
Well, for our next podcast interview, I'm going to have to find myself a red fez or something. I need to find myself a good hat. But for everyone listening, for them if they want to reach out and contact you guys or just read more information about the great work that you're doing at Fuze, could you just point them in the right direction of doing that and contacting your team?
Absolutely. Listeners can learn more online by visiting us at fuze.com.
Fantastic. Well, I'll have that link to the show notes and the blog post that will accompany this episode. I love chatting with you today, especially learning how IT leaders can take full advantage of that changing work landscape and the key strategies to understand and implement to prepare their workforce. It's a huge ask of a lot of businesses, but you seem to be making it so easy and taking away a lot of that pain. But more than anything, just a big thank you for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thanks so much, Neil. This was a lot of fun.
Wow, another great conversation today. And I love these real-world examples provided by Amanda. And for me, that's where the real value lies, as it enables all of us to learn from each other. And we might have done it through storytelling around a campfire thousands of years ago, but today we're doing exactly the same around these virtual campfires with this podcast and so many others like it too. So hopefully we can all agree to stop with the working from home versus working in the office argument and just accept that the sweet spot is somewhere in the middle, and each has its strengths and weaknesses depending on the task at hand. And like I was speaking with Amanda earlier, I mean, why does everything have to be a binary choice now? Left or right, hot or cold, on or off? Because life is much more complex than that. But enough from me. I want to hear your comments around the future of work today. So please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, tweet me, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever you want to do. I can find me at Neil C. Hughes. And of course, my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. So it's time for me to apply some after sun to my increasingly pink face and hopefully return tomorrow in better shape. So a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.